A very good afternoon. I'm here to give you all a brief introduction about the psychosocial rehabilitation process at SCAR. This will help you to understand and follow through the case presentation, which my colleagues and me are going to present today. The process is explained by means of a flowchart here. As the client comes for a clinical review, based on the needs expressed by the client caregiver, and if the consultant feels that the client would benefit from a structured rehabilitation, the client is referred to the PSR team for detailed evaluation with the help of standardized tools. The rehab therapist does assessment within a week of referral or as per the availability of the client. A individualized rehab plan is prepared in consensus with the client, consultant, caregiver, and then proceeded with the intervention. Intervention happens in three settings, such as outpatient, inpatient, and at the rehab center. For each plan, we attempt to put in a place and exit point based on achieving the goals. The rehab therapist is directly involved with the client and the family. When needed, the psychologist, occupational therapist, vocational instructors, nurses in the ward will be involved. This table is self-explanatory. It explains the assessments used for the needs identified and the strategies used to intervene. The initial sessions will focus more on building rapport with the client and the family. The need for intervention will be explained to them. So, it will be more of a one-to-one session, depending upon the comfort of level client and the need he or she will be engaged in group session. For example, if the client has severe deficits in social skills, initially he will be handled in a one-to-one sessions with the therapist. Hence, I mean to say the sessions will follow a hierarchy. Psychoeducation for the family will be done as individualized. If needed, they also will be attending the caregiver education program, which we conduct every month on the fourth Saturday. Family intervention like frustration, burden, and caregivers will be handled on a one-to-one session as and when needed. Family plays an important role in the process of PSR. So this will be emphasized to them during the session. They play the role as a co-therapist, that is to monitor the client during the activities. During psychoeducation sessions, they'll be explained about identifying relapse, what to do during crisis, also will be explained to them. The other important thing educated to the families will be creating opportunities for the client at home. During sessions, many families report that client takes a lot of time to do particular tasks, so it's better not to give them the task and they themselves will do it. So we educate them to give them a chance to implement the skills learned during the sessions and above all to provide moral support for the client. Here I would like to explain about our rehabilitation center. We have three different units. First, the daycare. It mainly caters to the client who are sent by the family for respite care. Second, the sheltered workshop. Sheltered workshop focus on work units and promoting various promoting products and selling them. Third, the day rehab program follows a structured rehab plan for the client, which is time bound. The process involved in the vocational services are shown in the slide. When there is a recent job loss or taking up a job was a major need, and when they show interest in participating in the vocational activities, they will be enrolled in the vocational services. Baseline assessment will be done to know their level of interest and resources available. A detailed previous job analysis will be also done. So based on this, the intervention will focus on work-oriented activities. All of this costs nothing to the patient. These are the products made at RBPC. Role of incentives. Clients are extensively motivated by means of incentives. Incentives are based on the regularity, quantity, and quality of work done. This will be explained to the client and the family during the enrollment to the service. By means of incentives, they feel validated and recognized. It also helps to improve their self-esteem. Few hurdles observed are distance from the center. So we have a free bus facility. It is only in a single route, which tries to cover as much of areas as we can. Another issue is certain clients and families are afraid to send client alone to staff. The most challenging issue we have is the difficulty to choose the right task for highly qualified patients. They feel the task of the VPC is too low for their level. And certain clients become dependent with us, and it is very difficult to plan exit routes. We are able to manage certain burdens for clients who cannot afford for travel. We offer free bus pass, that is through disability certification. Clients and family are constantly encouraged and motivated by sharing success stories. Clients with fear are handled by behavior management. Caregivers are initially allowed to accompany them, and later gradually we ask them not to come. Highly qualified clients are involved in teaching other clients. Like when a client has arrears in college, they'll be taught by highly qualified clients. We are still working on the process in placing their highly qualified clients. Dependence is an issue during the enrollment process itself. It will be clearly explained to the client and the family about the exit. Yeah, very good afternoon to what all present here. I'm a psychologist here. Today I'm here to talk about cognitive retraining in schizophrenia. I'm going to explain this by means of two case vignettes. The first case vignette is more like where we did not reach any point, like we were not able to find any success with the client. The second case vignette will be a success story where we implemented the lessons learned in the first case in the second case. So moving on to the first case, I'm going to here talk about Mr. N, who is a 34-year-old male, is married and from a middle socioeconomic status. He has completed his master's in information technology, and he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia and was very regular to staff, and he had a duration of 6 years of illness. When he was referred to me, he subjectively reported of poor attention, lapses in memory, and he was not able to take any decisions and not able to socialize with people. When a detailed history was taken from the client and his wife, most of his deficits which was reported by him were related to his work atmosphere. And also, he was frequently reported by the management, higher authorities at his work, that he is not very efficient at his work. He underwent the regular VSR process, which my colleague Ms. Jainey explained. So there were various other needs also which was elicited based on the structured assessments. But my focus will be more on cognitive deficits and the retraining which was planned for him. So with regard to the cognitive deficits, initially the subjective scale to identify, investigate cognition in schizophrenia, STICS, this tool was administered, and he reported of deficits with attention, that he was not able to focus at his work more than 20 minutes. He was frequently distracted, because of which he was not able to complete the targets at work. And also he had memory deficits, where he was supposed to send some specific emails to the customers within a specified time limit, which he almost forgets, and he was frequently reprimanded for this. So a detailed objective assessment using Nimhans neuropsychological battery was done,
And the deficits were found in with memory, attention, and planning skills. This is the overall plan of Mr. N, the rehab plan. When there was a discussion about the rehab plan, client and his wife reported that improving memory and attention was a priority need because it is causing a lot of problems at workplace. So they said that it has to be addressed immediately. Hence, he was referred immediately to me for retraining. So these were other needs which was elicited, and what were the strategies used to address these needs were listed in this slide. Okay, with regard to the cognitive retraining plan of Mr. N, with regard to the cognitive retraining plan of Mr. N, the goals for the session, the goals for the entire goals for the sessions were improving attention and memory so that his mistakes at work to be reduced. So the task set to address these goals were based on computer-based games like memory blocks, which will address memory, and word search puzzle and letter cancellations tasks to improve attention. Also, real-life tasks related to his work atmosphere was considered, but it was thought to be added in the plan at a later stage, but not at the initial stage. So, how these sessions will be delivered will be, it was planned to deliver that weekly one session, like for 30 to 45 minutes. Whole day sessions was planned. Client's wife was explained about homework activities and how she has to monitor these sessions. The first session was planned, had set defined goals, but what the client and his wife reported for the first session, but with a different agenda. Like as a therapist, I had a goal for the session, but they reported with a crisis situation. The client was diagnosed to have diabetes at that point of time, and he was very anxious and worried that he has to take a lifelong medication for another serious condition. Like he's already taking medicines for paranoid schizophrenia, which he has to take lifelong. Now he's more worried that there is another condition adding to it. So he was very anxious and worried. So at that point of time, the set goals were not met. So the consulting, treating psychiatrist and the therapist focused more on educating client and his wife about the physical condition, how to go about this, monitoring his sugar levels and the diet patterns. So this was done during the first session, and the appointment to the next session was advised. When they came back to the next session, the rationale about the cognitive retraining was explained, and the session was started with letter cancellation tasks, and while wife was explained about monitoring sessions at home. So after these two sessions, client did not come for any other scheduled appointments. When he was called over the phone that when he missed the appointments, he reported that he had other priorities in the family and hence he could not make it. And but he never missed his medical review. So when he came for refilling his medications, he was asked about attending the sessions, but client reported that he had to go rush up to home and he cannot wait for the sessions. But he was asked about what was the need, what was the reason that he's not able to sit through the sessions. He reported that the games were boring and monotonous, and he was just not holding up his attention, and hence he could not do the homework sessions also. And he said his need at workplace, like in spite of, when we asked that did he have the deficits with attention and memory, he reported that the deficits are still present, but that did not disturb his work atmosphere, because at his work the targets are not very pressurizing. There were no targets sometimes, and sometimes he was in the bench as there was no project therefore there was not a need to test these deficits. So the needs will keep on changing. And also, sometimes the client would come with different crisis situations, and the therapist should expect the therapist to address those crisis situations. And always the cognitive retraining took a backseat. So there was always a frequent shift in the needs, and focus was more on crisis management. So from this, the lessons learned from this particular case, the lessons learned was initially itself the focus should be on motivating clients and choosing the right kind of task, because the client was facing frequent failures at his workplace because of his deficits at work. So maybe he would have chosen a task related to his work atmosphere, and we have addressed it, maybe the client would be engaging in therapy because he would find some success at his workplace. So, and he would be able to transfer the skills learned to the work situation. And the most important lesson as a therapist, what I learned is, initially when I had some specific plan for sessions, when a client came up with different crisis situations, I was very much disappointed that I was not able to deliver what I had planned. So I definitely had some negative counter-transference, and I was not able to adapt to the changing needs. So over a period of time, I learned that as a therapist, we have therapists, we should expect that patients will not have static needs. Definitely the needs will be changing over a period of time based on their life situation. So as a therapist, we should be able to adapt to the changing needs of client and the family. So these lessons were learned from this particular case. So moving on to the case 2. This is Mr. B, who is from a rural background. He is the only breadwinner in the family. He has 2 children. He studied up to diploma in electrical engineering, and he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia with 5 years duration of illness. He had complete lack of insight about his problem. He was always not following up with the doctors. He doesn't take medicines. Once he is better, he stops medications and go into a relapse. So the recent job loss was because the employers felt he was very slow at his work, and hence he lost his job. He was shifted up around 5 to 6 jobs. He was not able to sustain in any job. He also subjectively reported about poor attention, lapses in memory. A detailed neuropsychological assessment was done, and it was found like his memory and planning skills were really intact. With related to attention tasks, he was very focused. He was not at all distracted, but it was observed that he was too cautious that he should not make a mistake. It was like after every test, he would ask the therapist that has he passed in the test. He felt it like an exam, and he would ask the therapist like, have I passed in this task? So his motor speed was adequate, and but he had difficulty with time-related tasks. And with the detailed history, it was found that he's an antagonistic personality. So there was always a need for perfection in whatever he does. With this, a cognitive retraining plan for Mr. B was done. So the initial session was focused on interpreting his objective assessment results to client. So when it was explained to client that his memory and planning skills are really intact, and he has problem only with speed-related tasks, and that is to managing time is the problem with him. Client was not at all ready to accept this result. He always reported that his employers would always complain that he's inattentive at his task. Client also focused more on getting back to a job after improving his attention deficits. So then the goal was planned for client's retraining, and the client even commented that one can compromise the result. This shows like how much he expects perfection in whatever he does. So weekly twice he was met, because he was met as an inpatient because he comes from a distant place. So he was admitted here for the purpose of rehabilitation, and he was met weekly twice, 45 minutes per session. Initially, 2 games were planned. Client was really enthusiastic and interested to participate in the task. Like, in fact, he would come frequently to the therapist room and ask when the sessions will happen. So time-limited tasks were planned for him. He performed really well at all levels. He was able to complete the task within the time limit. Then slowly, real-life task was targeted. While selecting the real-life task, we use the lessons learned in the previous case. Like we asked the client like what were his interests. Client said like he's interested to take up a job as a clerk, even though he's a diploma in mechanical engineer. He did not want to do those work. He wanted to take a job as a clerk or an office assistant, and so tasks related to clerical work was chosen. So he was asked to make petty cash vouchers, make an Excel sheet or a table using petty cash vouchers, and the task was graded with difficulty. Even during this task, it was observed that he was very cautious in avoiding mistakes. The need for perfection was very, very evident. This was the task done by the client. Vouchers were given and he was asked to list those vouchers. In this task, actually you can see in the initial session, like he was concentrating more on the lines, like he was drawing, he was checking after every entry, he would check each name and number for whether he has done it properly, and the line should be perfect. All this was in the first class, and slowly by our feedback, he was able to adapt to the changes. So the strategies used here were, initially we appreciated client for this good work, his neat handwriting. Then corrective feedback was given that he did not concentrate on drawing perfect lines, and he did not check the entries after writing every names. It can be done once after completing the whole task, and the necessity for managing time was emphasized during each session. And he was initially anxious, but he was also taught to relax. The other main thing addressed during the intervention was about his the distortion which he makes, like the need for perfection. He feels that he has to be perfect in everything. So it was explained to him that he has a cognitive distortion of black and white thinking. So which we guided him to minimize this error and think alternatively and to develop great thinking. So from this, the lessons learned were like intrinsic motivation as an important factor in cognitive retraining. Like intrinsic motivation involves choosing a task which interests the client, where the client has a choice to choose a chance to choose a task, and the usefulness of the task in real life situation. With regard to Mr. B, we took his interest. We did not force him to do an electrical engineer work. We did not train him on that area. We chose a task related to his wish where he wanted to do a clerical job. And we also gave him a chance, like we asked him like whether he wanted to do the task computer based or manual based, and he chose that he wanted to do his manual based because he's not very good in computers. So we took this choice of doing manual based tasks, and also definitely the usefulness of the task. So this guy, he comes from a rural background, and he's employed in any petty shop or any work, any atmosphere there. Definitely these kind of tasks will be really useful to him. So from here I would say that real life tasks are very important, which has to be included in a cognitive retraining program, rather than generic names. I don't say no to the generic names. Definitely, they also has to be included. But keeping in mind the real life situation, we can design generic names based on real life situations. And with regard to the role of non-specific factors, definitely it plays a major role by, by including patients' interest, clients' interest and choice. We definitely, and designing a task like that, definitely client would feel that more validated. He would feel that we are giving more importance to his thoughts and we are keeping him in consideration while designing activities. Definitely the rapport and trust will be more with the therapist and he would comply to the task. So this will definitely reduce the dropouts and definitely will have the desired outcome. Thank you.
So moving on to the presentation, Mr. G is a 30-year-old single male, has completed engineering in computers. The onset of illness was when he was doing his engineering. With constant motivation from family, he was able to complete it. He has remained unemployed till now. He comes from a lower middle socioeconomic status from Chennai. Predominantly, he was an introvert, has been good in academics and sports. In spite of adequate doses and duration of treatment, he showed suboptimal control of symptoms, poor functioning, remained idle at home. Family history of schizophrenia is seen in multiple first and second degree relatives. Personal factors like early onset and long duration of illness, multiple breakthrough episodes by being on medication, and family factors such as interpersonal problems related to the illness and financial instability contributed a lot to Mr. G's condition. He was referred for rehabilitation and was motivated to cooperate for the rehabilitation plan. So as explained earlier about the process of rehabilitation, Mr. G and his family were assessed for needs. Usually, both Mr. G and his family expressed needs for job placement and weight management. Individually, Mr. G wanted to improve his attention and self-esteem. His parents focused on symptom management and decreasing conflicts between him and his siblings. The following were the assessments done at intake. Psychopathology severity was mild, mainly in the area of delusion. He also had low self-esteem. The independent living skills were poor and he needed prompting to do any activity. He had poor communication skills. There were both subjective and objective impairments in cognition. His occupation history revealed that he had never been employed and had never tried to get a job because he wanted the symptoms to settle first. He is an obese person with borderline sugar levels. Caregiver had poor knowledge about illness. Believes the family has undergone a spell of curse. A detailed psychoanalysis reveals that the only earning member of the family are Mr. G's father and his sister. Client and his two other brothers who are also mentally ill do not have a job. His father is actually retired. So the overall goals for the patient are to improve his functioning and to make the family aware of the illness and teach them management techniques. The needs were as follows. I'll go by each needs and tell you how it has been addressed. I have not focused much on the process of vocational skills and cognitive retraining due to time constraints. It has been mostly covered in the other. It will be covered in the other side. Psychoeducation. Psychoeducation was targeted as a priority intervention because I felt both family and client needed to know what they were undergoing. They were allowed to ventilate individually and support was given. They were made to understand the concept of rehabilitation and how it works. The family also attended the caregiver education program of SPARK and got the opportunity to meet and interact with other caregivers. Caregiver education program is a half-day session for the caregivers where apart from exploring symptomatology, we also have a group sessions where the families can interact and share their experience and how they manage when they face any crisis. Mr. G was also explained about the symptoms, the reason for him being unprotected, his fear of mother mixing medicine in his food, and so on. In the sessions, I explored the caregiver's view of mental illness and its treatment beliefs, their past experiences with the treatment, the crisis moments, the stigma faced, nature of schizophrenia, its onset, course, and the relapse, effects of schizophrenia on daily life, management of illness were discussed. The concept of psychosocial intervention, disability benefits, and legal matters were also highlighted. Next is about the activities of daily living. This was done involving the caregiver and Mr. G together. A list of activities were drawn. In order to make the client come out of his house, it was suggested that he attend the SCARF day rehab program. It serves many purposes, getting him out of the house to create a 9 to 5 hour schedule, lunch back, and work concept in his mind. A schedule of activities of the day rehab was drawn. These included socialization, communication, exercise routine, cognitive retraining, like revisiting computer skills, preparing and maintaining the field books. It was done over the period of 6 months. As part of improving communication, he was taught the basic verbal and non-verbal cues. He was taught interview skills, how to approach and bank, to be assertive. This was done by role play and modeling with the therapist. Even other persons who attend the day rehab program was also included in modeling and role play. Here, his brother was also involved in the session to mutually understand the interpersonal problems. He was motivated and was given collective feedback with homework sessions. The following were the strategies used. These were mostly implemented one-to-one when required PowerPoints and handouts were used. As I mentioned earlier, the family was given constant support. The other sibling was brought for treatment. There were multiple sessions of supportive counseling. Since there was frequent exacerbation, they were explained of how to handle the crisis. Once he refused to come to the daycare due to exacerbation of symptoms, after a few days I made a home visit, offered support and reassurance, and brought him back. He at times changes the doses of medications on his own. During those times, he was educated. He was told how about how his past symptomatic period and how he had overcome it. Family burdens were high due to several ill members. So frequent sessions with the family helped them to overcome it. Seeing the outcomes. By the end of 6 months, the outcomes were Mr. G mentioned to be much happier, more valued at home and SCARF. He was more involved in the treatment. He initiated conversation with his sister and other family members. Overall, the family observed improvement in communication. He took initiative to come for treatment and was regular in exercise. The treatment was regularized for the other sibling also and was referred for rehabilitation. Key lessons learned when the process is slow and we have to take continuous efforts. The session with the family is also very important. Thank you. Today I would like to discuss about the success of networking in vocational rehabilitation. In that, one of my parents, Santosh, who is a 36 years old male, completed MCA and he was an average student in his studies. He is married and lives with his parents, wife and a child. He had worked in various private companies but is currently unemployed. He was diagnosed as paranoid schizophrenia in the year of 2009. Client was assessed for his needs by the case manager in the outpatient services. The first need reported was for a job by the family. He was therefore referred to the Vocational Rehabilitation Services. During the pre-vocational assessment, his work history was analyzed. He had worked in 4 private companies
any job. He had worked as a salesperson or as a customer care officer. He was sent out of a job from all these companies within a short period of time due to poor performance and being very slow in his work. At the time he enrolled in the BTC, we have explained him about the incentives and it will be given based on the quality of the work and quantity of the work, regularity, etc. Later on only he agreed to come to BTC. As he was asked to attend the Vocational Training Centre, his work behavior was observed there for a 2 weeks period of time. The general behavior, interpersonal behavior, and task behavior were observed using comprehensive occupational therapy evaluation skill. During the observation period, his general appearance was largely good. That means his self-care, dressing were adequate. He was willing to be engaged in any activity from the beginning. He was placed in the paper section. This is a level 1 activity which involves simple tasks requiring ability to learn simple instructions and perform in sequential manner. He was initially noted to be restricted in his socialization with others in the BTC. This improved later in the 2-week period of time. His task behavior was coordinated. He was able to follow the instructions and showed very much instruction interest towards the activities given by the therapist. Initially, when the supervisor asked him to correct his mistakes during the activity time, he was noted to be frustrated, but through the continuous motivation, he was soon able to identify his mistakes and correct them by himself. At the level 1 activity paper making, his quality of work, speed, and time taken to complete the task were observed. He was also engaged in small errand tasks in the facility and distribution of tea to other clients. He participated in a few other common activities like newspaper reading, playing computer games, yoga, etc. In 1 month period of time, he showed much improvement in level 1. The evaluation was done through administration of forms for every 2-week period of time and qualitative feedback from the supervisors and other staff with whom he interacted. He was then shifted to screen printing, which is a level 2 activity. This activity requires attention, concentration, vigilance, accuracy of performance, etc. and involves multiple levels of complexity. Over a 15-day period, he showed sustained improvement. Again, the administration done through both as qualitative observation by the therapist. As his level of functioning improved through continuous motivation, we planned to refer him to Dr. Reddy's Foundation's year serving a semi-sheltered workshop which provides intensive training and ensures job placement. Dr. Reddy's Foundation organizes different types of training courses for different. This was the first time that they are admitting mentally ill clients in their center. Since it was the first program for Dr. Reddy's, we conducted 3 sessions to orientate mental illness and persons with schizophrenia. The coordinator professors from Dr. Reddy's Foundation were involved in these sessions. Reddy's Foundation provides 60 days of training in soft skills, application, public relations, and interview skills for the candidates. They ensure job placement through a panel of employers registered with them. This client was sent along with my client. At the workshop, client was trained in customer care support additionally, since he had already worked in the same field. During the training, he was noted to be enthusiastic and good in his overall performance. After the training period, client was referred for an open employment. He was asked to attend an interview in a hotel where he was asked to tell that he was orthopedically challenged because the panel of employers were reluctant to employ someone with mental illness. This indicates a certain level of stigma in the minds of the Reddy's Foundation. It was decided that the issue of mental illness should be disclosed to the potential employer. Task offered to provide orientation on mental illness to the panel of employers. This is currently being scheduled. Dr. Reddy's Foundation found an alternative job position for my client in a supermarket. He is currently in employment for the past 1.5 months, mainly dealing with customer queries. The employer is also very well aware of his treatment and they are very supportive to him. Now he is earning 7,500 rupees per month. Now the client is regular and satisfied with the job. The lessons learned from these experiences are: it is possible to liaise with an employment agency dealing with the disabled for employment of mentally ill clients. However, therapists need to be available to the recruitment agencies or the employer for any clarification. That's a new follow-up with the agency and employer and recruitment the second employer the workload of each rehab therapist actually varies over time. We try and not have too many people. See, we have a caseload at the outpatient services. On some days in a week, it touches 150 cases. On some days, anywhere between 80 to 150 is the outpatient load. But not everybody is referred for comprehensive rehab, because we are few therapists in number. On each day, the reference to the rehab is done on a case-to-case basis. So on an average, at the moment, our rehab therapists are having about 10 to 12 cases on